There, it's a beautiful day, isn't it?
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, it's warm. You can still park on Main Street, though. We're talking to Frenchy Doucette, who we understand is Employee of the Week here at the Maury people.
It only lasts for a week.
It only lasts for a week at a time on Nantucket. But I wanted to talk to you, Frenchy, about the big news this week about Steve Karp and the Wawinit and all the winter properties. Can you just flesh out the story for us a little bit?
Well, they've reached an agreement in principle that Steve is going to buy the properties.
Right.
Hopefully, as we speak, they're signing a P&S.
Right.
And I think that Steve is probably the best fit for the property of anybody who was in the running.
Yep.
To buy the property. Got a great track record.
I totally agree.
And we also see what he did with the Wawinit, and I'm sure he'll do the same thing with these properties.
Right.
Well, we could I don't think people will know.
Steve Karp, who Steve Karp is?
We know the transaction.
Oh, the transaction, which was in the paper that Karp and his company are.
Actually, it's just Karp.
It's just him, who he owns the Wawinit house, which he bought, what, 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah, around there.
And turned it into, lifestyles of the rich and famous level summer resort. It's doing very well. Steve and his company own and develop big malls and big commercial real estate. This is he's no small potatoes. He's a big guy, but he's local, that's Boston area. This is that's what I wanted to ask you about. The days when Walter Beinecke was running Sherburne, and as I said before, back then we were all like, oh, Beinecke this and Beinecke that, and now everybody's saying, remember the good old Beinecke days.
That's right.
I think one of the great things coming out of this is that I think Steve Karp has a feel for the island, and he's local, and he understands the traditions, and I'm kind of hoping that we're looking at another Walter Beinecke type here.
Well, I think that we are, and to be quite honest, I think that's the primary reason that Winthrop awarded the bid to Steve. There were other suitors for the property.
Right.
Some of the offers were even a little bit higher. But they wanted the correct fit. It was very important to them if they find the right person to develop and maintain the properties in the best interest of the island.
Right. Now, is there any scuttlebutt on what's going to happen to Interstate? Is Karp going to bring his own people in to run the property?
I really have no idea about that. I would imagine that for this summer, it would be status quo. Things would remain as they are now.
Right.
I have no idea what will happen in the future.
Because, I remember when Interstate came in to manage the properties, somebody on the inside told me the first order that came down was replace all the live plants with fake ones. And I thought, I'm not sure these people understand what they're getting themselves into out here.
Well, I don't think that would happen with Steve. Even if Interstate did remain, he'd probably tell them to take all of the old plastic plants and replace them with fresh ones.
Yes, this is a guy who knows, wherever he speaks. Now, is he down? Do you know Steve Karp?
I've met Steve on a couple of occasions.
Right.
And very nice man, very unassuming guy.
Right. And anybody who reads the Globe regularly knows who Steve Karp is. Certainly, he's a big player in business circles. Yeah,
there were rumors that circulating in the Globe that he was one of the potential buyers of the Red Sox. And everything Steve does, he does correctly. Steve and his wife, I should mention as well, Jill, who was in large part responsible for the restoration of the Wawinit house.
Now, didn't Karp do the Galleria in Cambridge?
I'm not certain if he did that. I know he did I think he did the Emerald Square Mall.
Right.
I know
he bought the scoreboard clock from the old garden.
Right.
And hung it up in one of the malls. So
that's the Cambridge Galleria. Yeah.
So
I wasn't aware that he was the actual owner of that.
Right.
But I think you're right. That Steve Karp has involved himself in different things on the island. He's done it very quietly.
Right.
He is not the type of person who looks for the notoriety of his involvement.
Right. But Walter Beinecke never walked away from a reporter, did he?
Well, Walter's a very loquacious guy, and Still is, as a matter of
Yes.
fact.
He's a great guy, Walter.
Yes, he is. And a lot of people in this town owe a lot to Mr. Beinecke.
Certainly.
Of course, that opinion has evolved over a number of years.
It has indeed. I
as
was
you
one of
mentioned.
the, you know,
You were one of the naysayers
I was
initially.
one of the naysayers. Well, I was young and
Well,
impetuous then.
we all were.
Oh, yeah.
But you know,
You must have been, what, about 10 at that time?
yeah, about something like that. Yeah. but he really, it was the vision and the foresight.
Mhm.
I think that we came to appreciate over the
Right.
years that there's a permanence to the waterfront and a stability that might not be there. I mean, it might be Carnival Cruise Land out there by
Right.
now if it hadn't been for Walter.
Well, that's that's the thing with Steve Karp. We have a known quantity here. We can see what he's done on the island. I mean, there's living proof out there. When he took over the Wall Winnet, it was held together with baling wire and chewing gum.
Right. Yep.
And
Although it was a great place.
Oh, it was
I
great.
loved the
Absolutely.
old Winnet House.
it was just on the little seedy side
Yep.
of almost being F. Scott Fitzgeraldish.
Yes. That's what
but,
I liked about it.
Yeah, but I think that without being redundant, that Steve is the guy for this property.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And if Mr. Karp, if you're watching, and maybe you are, I would implore you to get involved in projects also like the maybe the Dreamland or helping to develop the cultural end of things here on the island. You, sir, could be the next Walter Beinecke. And Walter Beinecke certainly has a place in the Hall of Fame here on the island,
Right.
I think, for anybody.
I think
who's-
Steve Karp is his own man, and
Right.
in his own right, he'll do many things to benefit the community.
Right.
The first of which he's taken a step toward doing already.
Now, what else is going on, Frenchie? You gonna take
Well-
a couple of weeks off after this deal
Yeah.
goes
I
through?
can't.
or
I'm
what?
chained to my desk. in
Huh?
there. They let me out 5 minutes at a time. That's about it.
Things pretty hot though. They're percolating along in the
Yeah,
real
the
estate
market's
business?
very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now, what about now? I'm of the opinion. I think a lot of people are that the real estate market on Nantucket and the stock market in New York are intricately intertwined.
Mhm.
And as the market goes up, the market here goes up, and as the market there goes down, the market here goes down. Is there any truth to that? You think?
Well, I think that there is some connection, but not pretending to be an expert on the market. I think the market is at such a level now that even if there are corrections, it's
Right.
not going to affect the people who are in the market that much.
Can the stock market go higher?
You're asking the wrong
What's it,
guy, but
80
I guess it can.
8,800 now?
I think it hit 89 the other day.
I mean, are we going to see 10,000?
Could
The
be.
Dow Jones at 10,000?
But the one thing that has happened to the market here, speaking about the real estate market in general, is the fact that there are a lot of end users. By that, I mean people who are buying properties to use themselves as opposed to speculators in the market,
Right,
which has gone a long way to stabilize the real estate market.
right.
And ends up being, really good for the island because these people end up being actual community members and contributing and so on and so forth.
Now, is there a way for house painters and short order cooks and teachers and town workers and bank tellers and laundry workers to live on Nantucket year-round anymore?
Well, I assume that it's getting more and more difficult, and it's obviously something that has to be addressed. I mean, without them, the service industry is what makes this place work.
Right.
And unless we address that problem, it's not going to be a good thing.
Right, and we both know we've been singing this song here on the sidewalk
Absolutely.
for 21 years. I've been here, and for 20 years before that.
That's correct.
Where's the hard tactile action happening?
Well, I don't know. I think that the town is going to have to do something.
Right.
I mean, the powers that be and the people we elect are going to have to recognize and deal with the problem because it affects the whole economy of the island.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's you want diversification of the population here.
Absolutely.
It's what makes the community go around and round and round.
Yep.
So,
Now, what about this big development I just read about? Where is it out? It was in the paper this week.
I'm not certain where that is. I have.
They applied for 76 units.
I
and
saw that in the paper myself.
The planning
yeah.
board saying it's going to be more like
it.
50. But they, I remember it was a. The company was putting a percentage of affordable housing in there as part of the development.
It's not affordable housing.
And well, not most of it, but the percentage. And I don't. Is there a law that says if you develop X, X amount of acres, that X percent has to be affordable or anything like that?
No, there's no law that states that. It could be something that would be a condition of the development,
right?
If it were so imposed.
You think that's a good idea?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Certainly, it's one approach,
right?
And as I said, something has to be done, and
right.
It has to be done relatively soon.
Well, the problem is money, though. I mean, people say, people want a free market, and that's, and people say the market will take care of itself. Well, the market hasn't taken care of itself here on the island so far that I can see.
Not for a certain class of individuals, and I shouldn't say a certain class, but a certain economic
strata, certainly.
Strata. Yep. That's very true. And we're going to be much less of an island unless we take care of these people.
I mean, a lot of my contemporaries have left the island after 10, 15 years just because they're throwing up their hands about housing.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And something has to be done about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. We'll come up with something. Who do you like in the selectmen's race, Frenchy? Go ahead.
It might be too late anyway, actually.
That's all right.
This won't be on until...
So good. We'll see we'll know how his predictions came out.
Well, I like Arthur DeRocher. I think Arthur's a guy who takes a stand on things.
Right. Now, did you hear about Arthur's intern problem?
No,
I'm just joking, Arthur. I'm joking.
He loves you for it, too.
I know.
That's what's good about Arthur.
He wishes he had an intern problem.
And as far as the other vote, I'm still undecided.
Right.
There's some good candidates out there.
Is the government doing a good job on the island?
I think they're doing as good a job as they could possibly be doing. I mean, some of the things that they're wrestling with, no matter what side of the issue they come down on, it's going to be unpopular with one group or another. But somebody has to make the decisions, and thank God we've got people who are able to make those decisions.
Right. And one last question. You hear about this tree thing over on Chester Street?
Yes.
What's the deal with that? Where do you come down on that?
Well, I think it's a very sad thing. I live very close to there.
Right.
And those are two beautiful trees.
Right.
And I don't know if the property owner did that as a calculated thing or just out of sheer frustration did it as a spur of the moment thing, but it's a shame.
Yep.
You went over there.
Well, what happened was the town policy is that there are trees that the town claims are under their jurisdiction, though they're on someone else's private property. And when the town claims a tree, the owner has to clear it with the town if they want to move the tree or cut the tree or do anything to the tree. And apparently this homeowner felt like that was an infringement on his property rights, and he wanted the tree to come down so he could develop his property more. And the town told him, wait, we're going to settle this question actually very soon, as I recall, in the town meeting.
Well, I think that which
is next week or the week after, and he went and cut the tree.
Without permission?
Without permission.
What he did
and not only that, but wrote a letter to the paper telling other people to cut their trees before the law comes into effect.
This case seems to be a little bit different in that these trees were planted by the town.
Right.
There were little plaques on the trees saying that they were gifts of the Nantucket Tree Commission, or indicative of such anyway.
Right.
And from my understanding, there was ongoing litigation concerning this.
Yep.
And it's my understanding that you couldn't do anything to the trees or even the root system that would endanger the trees. And essentially what seemingly happened is he just took the law into his own hands and decided he was going to take the trees or render them such that they were no longer viable.
Right.
And if you get down there today, they've cut the trees down,
Yeah.
and it's a sad sight.
It is
Where
a
is it?
really sad sight. On the corner of Chester Street and, going up the hill
And
to
North
the cliff
Water Street.
there, North Water Street.
Yeah.